Hello, Yulin.
Hello.
Okay, I understand that you uh, attended a courthouse in Ontario a few days ago to watch a family court hearing and that you had a troubling experience as a member of the public. Is that statement true?
Yes, it is. I found it very troubling, shocking, and frankly disgusting.
Before I ask more questions, what's your first name and what city do you live in?
My name is Yulin, and I live in the city of Toronto, Ontario.
And what was your reason for being at the courthouse that particular day?
I'm just a mother experiencing access problems with my daughter. My own case is being heard before another court. I simply went to the courthouse here in Toronto to watch a case to be more familiar with the court process. I thought this would help me build my confidence, especially when I go to court to self represent. Up until now, almost all of my legal representatives have done a pretty lousy job to support me and my child.
And what did you experience at the courthouse that day, which you found troubling? Tell me about your experience.
Well, I simply went into the court with my court support person who helps families involved in court proceedings. We sat in the back public gallery area, and about 5 minutes later, the judge entered. In the case that was being heard that I was observing, the lawyer for the mother immediately asked the judge that the support person and myself leave the courtroom. I was shocked that I was singled out by the mother's lawyer. We had done nothing wrong, and we were just there, sitting in the public area to observe the proceedings. I did not know the parties who were involved in the court proceedings, yet we were escorted out of the courtroom without any explanation. A few minutes later, we were escorted back in and never told why we were asked to leave in the first place.
I understand that after you had that situation, I guess, I understand that there was a second incident after you left the courtroom. Can you tell me about what happened during the second incident?
Well, yes. About an hour and a half later, we left the courtroom and went out into the hallway. There were 5 police officers outside the door. They told my support person to stop as they wanted to talk to us. They asked us to identify ourselves. The officers were very aggressive. One officer told us that a judge had complained about us having given a brochure, which my support person had simply passed to a courthouse secretary. It was a brochure outlining some of the rights that people have when attending court. I was shocked at the display of abuse of power by the police over one brochure given to a courthouse secretary. When the support person I was with asked the officers which judge it was who complained, they said that they were not at liberty to say. They said they had to follow any instructions of a judge. A couple of times they stated that they could have us both arrested. They, however, could not tell us which section of the criminal code had been violated. The manner in which the police surrounded and confronted us was nothing but an abuse of authority to intimidate and instill fear. One officer had a body cam on, but when I asked if it was recording because I didn't hear the beep, he said no. Well, he couldn't lie because I didn't hear the beep. I knew it was off. The officer said that even he was not allowed to record in the courthouse, so I was totally confused.
After your experience at the courthouse, do you have any trust in the way in which the police at the courthouse conducted themselves when dealing with members of the public?
Sadly, I have to say that I don't. I have absolutely no trust in the way in which police conduct themselves inside the courthouse. I was completely in shock. I wasn't expecting that at all.
How would you feel if, would you feel safer at the courthouse if the police officers at the courthouse were required to wear body cams when dealing with members of the public?
Of course, I would. Police body cams have helped promote better policing. We, however, need police at courthouses to also be accountable.
And based on your experience in your own court matter, which you said that there is going to be, you're in another jurisdiction somewhere, uh, do you feel that the family court system or the family court system has served you well, even in your own matters in a different court somewhere?
Not at all. I honestly feel that the family court system is broken and that my lawyers, by large, have miserably failed me and my child. A lot of harm has been caused. Justice has not been delivered in a timely nor cost effective manner.
And in closing, if you could send a message to the premier and to those who minister the courts, what would you like to say to them about the use of cameras in the courts and in the courtrooms and body cameras on police officers who interact with members of the public at courthouses?
Well, I would like to tell the Premier of Ontario and those who are responsible for courtroom administration to make it mandatory for police officers to not just wear body cameras, but to turn them on, especially when they interact with members of the public inside the courthouse. This will improve accountability and stop the abuse of power and police intimidation, which I was exposed to in the public hallway of the courthouse. I would also feel safer and more trusting of the courts as a whole if both courtroom cameras were installed in the courtrooms too. It should also be mandatory that police body cams are turned on when interacting with the police. I'm just happy that I had a witness to be able to attest to my version of events because surely if the cameras were there, the cameras would have captured it, but they weren't. I would like to ask police officers to be more cognizant of the laws, the rules, because clearly they were not familiar. And I felt that we were trying to simply educate them and let them know the sections as well of the Justice Act, which they were not familiar with, which was surprising to me. Because if they're there to enforce the laws, then they need to have a deeper understanding of what they are.
Okay, well, I can't think of anything else I want to ask you, so I certainly thank you for your participation in this survey, and we will certainly continue on in our efforts to get cameras in the courtrooms and body cams on those police officers who work with members of the public.
Thank you for having me.